What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another Bucks on Deck podcast episode. I'm Anthony Murphy. With me, as always, Nola Jeffy. Nola, what's going on, man?
Just another day in paradise.
Yeah. How's your Christmas? How's your trip?
It was good. It was good. It's always fun to see family, and especially now that like my son's getting older and his cousins too, because my sister had twins 5 days after him, so they're all the same age. So it's hilarious seeing how much bigger than them he is, and just them interacting now is funny.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And like this year's holidays, like I just have not been a fan of, just because it's been on a Wednesday, and it feels weird having Wednesday. It just feels like everything's all messed up. Nothing feels right. Christmas Eve didn't feel like Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, it just everything was weird on there. So
Agreed.
Yeah, but that's good. Good, you had a good time. We went to my dad's to watch the Steelers game. Kind of wish I hadn't watched the Steelers game, but and now we're getting ready for New Year's too. I think we're having even more people over at the house for it. So I guess that'll be
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I guess. But anyways, like I said, New Year's coming up on there. We wanted to today we're going to do a quick recap of this past year, going over some highlights for us, some memorable moments, and then we wanted to take a look at the upcoming year, 2025, and some headlines that we're going to be following as far as, the minor league side, maybe some major league stuff. And then to close out the show, the thing that I was supposed to do by myself last week, but I had some technical issues and I wasn't feeling great, so I just said, screw it. We're going to do some of the mailbag questions that you guys submitted. Actually, we're going through them today, and there's pretty good questions getting sent in here. Not like not like the typical, why bother with because of Bob nutting and stuff like that, or why won't he spend money? No, it's first question we're going to start off with. I really like. There's some good questions getting submitted, so I'm excited for that part.
Yeah, I love the questions. They're great.
Yeah. So we're going to get started with the kind of looking back at 2024. Some memorable moments for us. Some stuff that kind of stood out watching the minor leagues. I noticed a couple other podcasts doing the same thing on it, and I thought about maybe skipping over it, but like you and I were talking about before the show, we offer a little bit of a different perspective maybe than some of those other shows, since we focus on the minors a little bit. But what do you feel like what's something that stood out to you this past year, like in the minors and stuff like that?
I think some of the most, memorable moments for me are just specifically with like the pitching development of prospects, both major league level and the minor leagues, that it seemed like at least that faction of their identify, draft, acquire, develop, and everything is coming to fruition, and seeing the fruits of the labor for that. So it was a lot of fun watching that, because someone like Alessandro Urcolani, that we've talked at extreme lengths about for a couple years now, just seeing how well he grew, the whole aspect with like Jerry Jones, not only opened up with the team and pitched well, it also came with regards to like he went to Thomas Harrington and got some help with his fastball, and that worked. And then Skeens in general, which is kind of funny to me in a sense too, but that's a story for another day maybe.
Okay. Yeah. So like building off like you mentioned Jared Jones. I think this year was like real fun based off the fact that, like we watched his very first pitch like his professional debut, and and 99-mile-an-hour fastball, and pitching as a teenager, and then to watch him progress through the minors, and then win a rotation spot out of spring training, and then his debut, he had the double-digit strikeouts, and so just kind of seeing his progression and kind of seeing it, the end result kind of being, like not really end result, because he's got a long career ahead of him, but all that work that he kind of put into the minors that we watched him go from like this guy who, struggled throwing strikes a little bit. We saw the violent release, and we kind of saw him tame that in and reel it in and stuff like that. So yeah, that was definitely one of the better moments. And best part of it is it like happened right at the beginning of the season too. I think for me, one of the, like, obviously I think like just like in general, like that the Bradenton trip that I took this year kind of was like right up there, getting a chance to see a lot of the guys that, like we wouldn't have a chance to normally see, like in the complex. I got to see David Matoma, I got to see Xander Meath before he went up to Bradenton, Richard Ramirez, Tony. I didn't see Tony Blanco play, but I saw him walking around the dugout, and you could definitely tell Tony Blanco apart from everyone else, kind of thing. So
he's a big boy.
Yeah. I think another cool moment too is, kind of just seeing I guess building off also what you said with like the pitch and develop, just the step that like Bubba Chandler took this year, going from, he's a guy that we knew had talent and had the upside and stuff like that. But for him to kind of finally put it all together, and I think it was really highlighted those two double-digit strikeout games that he had. I think it was against like Bowie and Akron or something like that. I know one was against Bowie. I can't remember which one the other one was against, but just to see the dominance and the fastball and how the slider kind of came forward. And then when he got to Indianapolis, he started throwing the curveball a little bit to kind of just add in a fourth pitch, just kind of show hitters that he can throw it for a strike kind of thing. Just kind of seeing his development and going from the unrealized potential to now one of the top pitching prospects in all of baseball, and has just as good as a chance, I feel like, this spring to win a rotation spot as Jared Jones did. So
yeah, and definitely, especially even again after the previous year with Bubba, and kind of the same story in a sense, where the first half we were like, okay, I mean, he's got big stuff, but maybe he's not, exactly the guy we thought he was going to be. But then like mid-season, it was like, oh, okay, maybe he is. Yeah. And then, it did kind of continue. It then continued into this past year and took a step forward. So that was fun to see.
Yeah. I think another thing too was like I think maybe like, so like obviously Bubba Chandler, he kind of steals the show with that. But I think one of the better pitching performances that we saw was the that Thomas Harrington, where he was like on pace to throw like a Maddox, but they pulled him after the 7 innings because I think it was like Barucki had like a rehab appearance scheduled. Yeah. So they pulled him for it. But I think he was at like 60 pitches through 7 innings. He was just like just mowing like guys. Like he only struck out 2, but like no one was making solid contact with it. He was throwing pitches wherever he wanted. Like I think that game, like I've read something or I heard something that like Baseball America hasn't given out many 70 grade control command on pitchers, at least like recently. And he was one of the few that got that grade. And I think if you need an example of why they they went that way with it, you just look at that start and just like he was like painting the corner with the fastball, and then like he's facing lefties, he's putting like right underneath their hands where they had zero chance to make solid contact with it, and so it was just one of the most dominating starts that I think you can see. That's not going to be like filled with like strikeouts and stuff like that.
Right.
So, And he's another guy too that I guess has an outside shot at making the rotation. Or I mean, you have to figure that he's going to factor into some innings this year at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it happening with two of them, but I mean, theoretically, they could have at least 3 PPI eligible pitchers going into 2025.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, so yeah, which the case could be obviously be made for Bubba, and I think a case could be made for Harrington, but it'll be interesting.
No, yeah, I think I kind of like mentioned that like in the article we did. It's kind of like I was thinking of like the spring breakout because I'll be down there for the spring breakout, and like last year, Jared Jones didn't pitch because he was competing for a rotation spot, and I was thinking about it, and I said, well, if all of these guys, like Ashcraft, Burrows, Harrington, Chandler, if they're all fighting for a rotation spot, that could make that could make it. I mean, they could still find some interesting guys to go out there and throw like an inning or something like that. But that's like your top 4 pitching prospects that aren't going to be pitching in the like prospect showcase game. So that can make it a little boring, but but also that makes for a really exciting like competition in spring to have those kind of prospects. All of them at one point were top 100 prospects. All of them are going to be competing for a rotation spot potentially.
Yeah, which I guess could lead into the next subject.
Yeah. So now with 2024 pretty much wrapped up, depending on you're listening to this, it may be 2025 already. So we wanted to look ahead a little bit and go over some headlines, storylines, whatever you want to call it, that we're kind of monitoring going into this upcoming season. What did you have up first with it, or what was your
I guess kind of keeping on the same train of thought, but flipping it a bit. What I'm looking forward to in 2025, involves again development, and just we all obviously have seen over this past year how the upper level depth, particularly hitting, was just kind of a dearth of anything. It was very limited upside. So I am very interested in how things unfold in 2025, particularly on the hitting side of things, because I think there were a lot of guys that at least popped and piqued interest in the low levels, between Greensboro, even with a Jack Brannigan, who probably should have been in Double-A, but the injuries likely held him back. They unfortunately traded McAdoo, but I think there's still a handful of very interesting guys. Plus, you take into effect the 2024 draft where they went very heavily young hitters. On top of a lot of the international guys that were making their full season debuts, or I guess in the instance of Yordani de los Santos, he went back to complex, but made it back to full season by the end of the year. So just seeing how all of them progress, I think by the end of the year, the state of the farm system could very well flip, depending on how things go.
Yeah. I mean, like I mentioned it there before in the last segment. There's a very good chance that like their top 4 pitching prospects all graduate this year, including like the guy who's the best pitching, one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. There's a chance,
right?
Like, yeah, maybe just the amount of them, maybe 1 or 2 of them, maybe like one of them just doesn't have the opportunity to graduate. But there's an outside shot that like all 4 of them graduate this year, and then that kind of, like you said, that can cause the system to flip, because there are some high upside guys down in the lower minors. You got like Blanco, Esmeralda Valdez led the Florida State League in home runs and stuff like that. So there are some interesting guys down there. I want to know like who, like, let's just say that all 4 graduate, either, or like maybe one gets traded, the rest graduate, whatever. But I'd like to know who that next guy, who's going to emerge as that like next guy to kind of become like the top pitching prospect in the system. And I think even with those 4 graduating, there's some interesting guys in there that can be like legitimate top of the system, like arms kind of thing, between like Hunter Barco, which he's probably knocking on the door right now if he doesn't get hurt, kind of thing. He only threw like 4 innings in Altoona. You got someone like David Matoma down in the complex league who the fastball flashes like double plus, like has great shape, high velocity, that kind of stuff. So it's just like a matter of consistency and like the secondary stuff. And then also too, like if he's going to be like a starter or a reliever, you got something like Xander Meath, you got Levi Sterling. So even if they graduate a bunch, it feels like they're still going to have plenty of guys that can kind of step up and fill the void. And I'm kind of interested in seeing who that is, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, or maybe it's someone like Wilbur Dotel puts everything together with his triple-digit
Ercolani
or Ercolani, that kind of thing. They have no short, and like it's crazy because like you feel like any other organization, like if they graduate for their top 4 pitching prospects, you're looking at like garbage from that point forward. And the fact that the Pirates, obviously, they won't have one of the best pitching prospects in the game like they do right now with Bubba Chandler, but they'll have some very solid guys and guys who have shown some stuff that, like, if they take that right step forward, can push like the top 100 mark, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, I know, who was it? I forget who did the BA chat when they did the top 10 prospects. Because I know I specifically went in there and was like, what do you think of Ercolani? Mm-hmm. And they also spoke highly of him as a potential sleeper. So remember who was first. Bucks on deck.
Bucks on deck. I think another thing too, like we don't have to go, is one thing is the a couple of like the 2021 draft picks who kind of look like they may be starting to get hung up a little bit in Anthony Solometo and Lonnie White Jr. I'm not going to say it's a make or break season for him, but like it's very close to, like, they, especially like Lonnie needs to get something done this upcoming season. Like, I'm okay. Like, I don't think it's the end of the world if he starts in Greensboro again, but he's got to hit his way to Altoona, and he's probably got to hit his way there fast.
Well, and that was also something I was kind of thinking about the other day, with obviously a lot of the deep arguments that have happened in the comments on Bucks on Deck. It'll be interesting, given that how much data has become available over the past few years, in that we should be able, if there's a pretty sizable change, I feel we could say with relative confidence that bringing in Matt Haig made a huge difference in what is easily the biggest black hole of their hitting development, particularly with contact. So, I mean, if we see guys make a sizable leap in those metrics, I think we could at least say with some feeling of confidence that it made a difference.
Yeah.
Which again kind of leads into what I said earlier. Just I think there's a possibility that the farm system, in a way, kind of flips to where it's like Connor hits the ground running. If Lonnie finds some form of contact, if Tamar improves his contact, I'm very excited for Wyatt Sanford. That all of a sudden, come the end of end of 2025, we could be like, look at all these young hitting prospects we got.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
Things can flip very, very quickly. And so it's very, very exciting to see. I think probably like the 2024 prep kids, though, that's probably the big storyline going into the year. I feel like, because like there's talk about Connor Griffin in the hit tool, and from what I gather, it doesn't sound like the Pirates were ever overly concerned with that at all. So like if they were right about that, like you have like a kind of star in the making there with him. And you mentioned Wyatt Sanford, slick defender kind of thing, with still, with good bat ball skills. And Eddie Renders has they're talking like 2025 home run potential kind of thing, plenty good raw potential, raw power. Probably played third base, but
Chris Clegg's a big fan.
Yeah. A lot. It kind of feel like when they first drafted him, like I went and watched some videos and I've read like the little information, and it's like, well, this guy's good. I'll have to write him down. And then before you know it, like just everyone is mentioning him here. And it's like, well, I guess he's just not really a sleeper anymore, because like just everyone's talking about him as potentially a guy. So
yeah,
he'll the complex team's going to be, I mean, I imagine Connor heads straight to Bradenton, but like that complex league team, man, they could be pretty exciting this upcoming year. So
yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun year, and just ready to get things going and get the focus back on baseball kind of thing. So, did you have anything else, or did you want to go to the mailbag now?
No, I think we can move it along.
All right. So, like I said, we got a bunch of questions in, which I appreciate everyone who sent one in. I don't think we're going to get to every single one of them, but what we can do is the ones we don't get to, every week from this point forward, we'll slide in like one or two or something like that at the end of the episode before we close out. So we'll get to all of them. We'll just, maybe they won't be tonight. So, all right. So the first one comes from, I think it's Auroras Borealis. I don't think that's the actual way to say it, but I'm going to say it that way. Here's a good one for you to chew on. And this is one I like. This one I went to immediately first on here, because this one one's I like. In the past, we have seen small market teams gain an edge in scouting and development by exploiting new technologies and innovating before large market teams. In this age where data from numerous radar machines is available at nearly every level, down to scouting combines in Latin America, and the same biometrics are available to almost every team, how do small market teams gain an edge on larger market teams? Can a team still be markedly better at scouting? Or is the only advantage left one of development? And if any advantage can be gained in the development of players, how so?
Well, I mean, I'll kick it off in part by saying I think a lot of it can be bore out in just, if you look at the league as a whole, the teams that spend the most in research and development, scouting, all of that, are the ones that obviously excel better in it, such as, the Dodgers, the Rays. Like, they extensively fund that aspect of their organization. So that aside, I think a lot of it kind of comes down to just, the old adage of baseball in general is execution. Mm-hmm. You could have the perfect idea. You could it all makes sense in your head, but you still have to execute it. You still have to be able to say, hey, here's this kid. We like his build. We like what, like the power he has naturally. He moves well, this, and that. We just need to, if we can just tweak his swing this little bit, to get to inside fastballs better, he's going to pop off. But they still need to be able to, teach them, train them in order to develop that aspect and bring it out of them. And that's an area where, maybe the Pirates previously had the perfect thought process on how to do it. They just weren't able to execute it.
Yeah. I think, and just like you said, just like with baseball, I feel like baseball is such a game of adjustments. And when it comes to like the scouting and develop, so like, yes, pretty much everyone has like the same data at this point. Everyone's going to see, what the pitch shape and metrics and all that kind of stuff with like prep kids or, kids coming through the draft and everything. Everyone's going to be able to get that information. What it comes down to now, it's like, imagine that stuff is like a foreign language or something like that. It's the ones who can interpret and translate it the best onto the field that's going to have the advantage. Mm-hmm. And so like, let's say like you have a pitcher that he has whatever pitch, like his fastball shape is whatever. And maybe, yes, all teams can see that and say, okay, well, this might work at the next level kind of thing. But like someone like the Tampa Bay Rays, they may see it and be like, okay, well, with this kind of fastball, we know that adding a cutter helps that work. So we're going to pick him up and we're going to have him throw a cutter to go with it. And then boom, that's where we see like so many Rays pitchers just like kind of burst onto the scene kind of thing. It's yes, everyone has the access to the same information, but it's what they do with that information and how they're able to translate it on the field that kind of still gives certain teams the edge. Mm-hmm. So that's how I kind of look at it because like even me us at this point, we can go up there and we can see how hard a guy's throwing, how what the shape is and what pitches he's throwing. But where teams are successful is they can make little adjustments to it or help him throw more strikes and stuff like that and that kind of stuff. And that's what kind of gives them the advantage over other teams.
Yeah, and that's where you could even kind of maybe get into the weeds with talking about is it a player prospect that has just excelled due to pure raw talent, or is this the type of player who just yearns to seek out information type of stuff? Similar to Jared Jones, again, went to Thomas Harrington and said, hey, teach me how to get that right on my fastball type of stuff, Mm-hmm. And guys just with that type of character and personality, is something that you could, as a development or scouting department, seek out.
Yeah. Makeup. It's all about the makeup.
In conjunction with, natural talent.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to get the guys with the natural talent and all this stuff, but you want to get the guys with the natural talent and like the ability to make those kind of adjustments or be receptive to suggestions as far as like, well, we know that you like absolutely dominated in high school with this fastball slider, but based off of this information that we have on you, we really think you would succeed even more with maybe like using a sinker slider kind of, or, like we're try this and that kind of thing. It's being receptive to like the kind of changes and stuff like that. So. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I really like that question. I thought that was a really good question, and I wanted to make sure we did that first. And because like you see like teams like the Dodgers, they can spend $1 billion and stuff like that. But I feel like what really makes that organization go is the fact that they can properly identify talent at the amateur level, get that to translate, and then even if they don't use them on the major league roster, they can go and flip them for like a major league ready player or like a like a starter or reliever or something like that. That's where the difference comes in, kind of thing. I feel like.
Yeah.
So. Okay. All right. So next question. This one comes from Bucks Fan 2023. It's a 3-part question. This one I love because like I love bringing it up as much as I can because people kind of just feel like this position's like set in stone kind of thing, and I think it's like a very volatile thing. Which Pirates catcher are you most bullish on long term?
Well, I'll probably feel more better about this answer again at the end of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
But I love Robert Ramirez. Which are
Richard Ramirez.
are we? Well, are we talking? Now that I think about it, are we talking MLB catcher?
I'm going to assume that it's probably just I think I'm just going to assume that it's probably like the 40-man guys.
Okay. Well, now I got to rethink this a bit. So
Right. You want to go first while you do it?
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe I'll just piggyback.
There's 4 catchers on the 40-man roster right now: Joey Bart, Jason DeLay, Eddy Rodriguez, Henry Davis. I think all things aside, like let's just say that a certain somebody didn't have Tommy John surgery, and you kind of have to worry about how that his arm's going to be long term. I'd probably take Eddy Rodriguez as like a catcher just because of the defensive work. Because like I feel like worst case scenario, he's probably just a backup. Like if the hitting never fully translates to the majors, he's a solid backup. He did pretty good in the majors last year or the year before. So I kind of feel like it's Eddy Rodriguez. I probably now because of Tommy John, like I'll feel a lot safer. Like Nola started saying, I feel a lot safer at the end of the year to see how he looks. But man, long term, I don't know if any of these guys are like an actual thing long term. I guess Joey Bart's the closest guy that is there, and that's mainly even if he doesn't work out as a catcher, you can still probably like he started DHing towards the end of the year a little bit just to keep the bat in the lineup. So like if the hitting stays, like you'll always find a spot in the lineup for it. I just don't know if like long term because of the defensive stuff, like if he's going to be an actual answer that I feel comfortable with as a catcher. You know, catcher for me is still somebody that I'm okay with not being a great hitter as long as, you know, he's that's still a position that I'm okay with, like the defense first guys. I don't want him to be Austin Hedges bad, obviously, but I'm okay with sacrificing some hitting still in favor of defense at the catcher position. And really none of these guys really I know Jason DeLay kind of took a step back this year defensively. It sounds like in Indianapolis. Henry Davis, like I don't think either of us have ever been fairly confident in him being a catcher long-term anyways. So if Eddy comes back and everything's good, I'm probably taking Eddy still, I feel like. And Nola's kind of still looking stuff up.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a pretty tough question. Just in that, you know, this one is one where it's going to take a little time, I guess, for me, just in the sense that I know we talked previously, more so, I guess, in group chat, just that his Endy's batting metrics are a little worrisome.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that for me to really get on the train, I'd like to see some progress with. But even, you know, similar to what you were just going on about that, I mean, are we really sure he's going to play catcher? But the thing with that too is that are we sure that I mean Henry Davis is gonna be able to stick a catcher? Because I mean, if I gun to my head had to choose right now, I would honestly probably say Henry Davis. In part just because I still question what happened to the bat in translating to the MLB, because watching him move up through the minors, like watch so much of him, and it's like the bat is not going to be a problem, but then all of a sudden it was like out of nowhere, like issues that he never showed signs of, really. Now, whether he's going to be able to stick behind a plate, I mean, if that bat develops, I think you would take it with the bat if he was average. Because, I mean, even if we bring Joey Bart into it, he hit very well. And if he hits like that, you know, you put up with the not very strong defense. and that's where it's going to kind of is that, you have two that really, it's probably Bart is the worst defensive. Davis is in the middle, and he's the best, presumably. We still don't know really where Andy is post his Tommy John. So that leaves questions. But gun to my head, I'm going to say Henry Davis. I think depending, again, on how things go with his offseason workout routine. And, he's a guy that, they always talk about his work ethic. So 2025 could be a big year for him.
Yeah. I think so. Like the short term is the easy answer. Like Joey Bart, like I'm okay with Joey Bart right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with Joey Bart, a catcher. That is interesting about Henry Davis. And if even something just kind of clicks a little bit, that does create like an interesting dynamic. Like if Henry Davis, the hitting kind of comes along and like the arm is fine with the ND, like I think you're just kind of set up with those two as like a catching tandem there. You got one guy who can hit, one guy that plays defense. You can still kind of like ship Davis over and DH him every now and again kind of thing. So then they're both in the lineup. You could still get them 80 to 100 games. And I think for a catcher now, that's just fine. Like there aren't many catchers who are going to do 120, 130 plus anymore.
Right. So. And then of the three, Andy's the guy that you're going to be able to be like, hey, you know what? Go play right field, because we saw how that went with Henry Davis. You could put unless they want to do like that one time they put Colin Moran at second base with Henry Davis, but you probably don't want to do that. You could put Andy at second base. You could put Andy at first base. He'd probably be the best first baseman of the three. So it's mostly going to come down to who's hitting, and then they'll find the spots to put people. All things equal, Andy is the one that would be easier to, float around in essence.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see how his arm plays and the catcher position kind of plays out there. All right. So the next part of the question: offer a worst case, best case, and most likely to happen outcome for Spencer Horwitz with the Pirates.
Okay, so worst case, is he's another contact-oriented, light power hitter that they've highly sought after ever since, Ben took over. And he just doesn't hit as well as he did in his, half season, or I guess 60%. I think it was 97 games out of 162.
Yeah.
I will say, like, if you looked at like his ex WOBA, his expected WOBA, it at least had promising, above average results, as opposed to, when you looked at De La Cruz or IKF, it was like, I don't know what they're looking at kind of deal.
Yeah.
I feel like most likely to happen is he's more of a like Troy Loney, I guess.
Okay.
You're not going to get, maybe you could, but you're probably not going to get 25, 30 home runs out of him. You'll be lucky if he pops 20, but he's going to hit. He's going to get on base. He's going to knock people in. And hopefully with consistency, he becomes a not respected, a trustworthy first baseman. And then I get, let's see. Best case is they find some extra pop in that bat with the, being a left-handed hitter at PNC, and he does hit 25 plus home runs. Maybe Maybe he goes on a power surge and hits 30.
That'd be I think everyone would be okay with that if he found a way to get up to 30. I think best case scenario is he's a guy who, the platoon concerns kind of solve itself a little bit. He hits better against lefties, so that way you can keep him in the lineup a little bit more. And he's like a 20 to 25 home run guy now because he can actually hit lefties a little bit better. So that just creates more opportunity for him to play. So, like, realistically for me, that's the only way he walks into like a 20, 25 home run season is the contact against lefties get better. And that just creates more, plate appearances for him. Because I think right now we're probably limited to like maybe like a 15 to 20 probably on his absolute best, like his absolute peak, probably like a 20 home run guy, and probably like 15 most of the times because
I'll add shortly. There could always be the Kevin Newman aspect to where, again, the shorter porch as left-handed hitter at PNC, plus he's going to get to play games at Cincinnati and Milwaukee. So
maybe he walks into an. I think for me, like the most likely thing is like he does prove maybe ever so slightly. He's still a guy you're probably ideally platooning, but like he's just going to continue to like mash like you said, no, like his expected numbers and all that stuff is you feel pretty confident that like this could be him going forward. You're not worried about him kind of like falling off a cliff kind of thing. So he plays 97 games. I think as a platoon guy, you could probably get like 100, 110, 120 when you're counting in like pinch hit, like games that he could come in and pinch hit and stuff like that. So that's going to up some of the numbers and stuff like that. I think he's somewhere in between the 15 to 20 home run range and lots of doubles, which fine. That's fine. Like maybe that's not what you want from a first baseman, but it's still adding value to a lineup that really needs like offense at this point. So
yeah. I mean, if he's whether it's home runs, doubles, walks, whatever, if he's producing offense, that's what we need.
Fine.
And preferably
picky at this point.
Preferably over the length of the season, not be like a negative 800 WRC plus for 2 months and then now he's going to go on a heater when they're 10, 15 games back of the division.
Yes, that would be unfortunate.
Yeah.
So the last part of the question is, do you prefer DeBellas or Jersey Mike subs? I'm trying to think back if I've ever had DeBellas, and I don't think I ever have. So go ahead and take any little Yinzer card that I had. You can go ahead and take that. Because like I've lived in Virginia.
that's the problem is I've lived in New Orleans for this past September was 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I've had both, and to the best of my knowledge, and I probably should have researched this a little more before I did it, but if I recall, Jersey Mike's is more of like a hot subs kind of place.
Yeah.
Whereas DeBella's is more of like I don't want to say cold meat.
Okay.
Cold.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that, and I'll probably get corrected. But to the best of my knowledge and my memory, I would then go Jersey Mike's because which is funny because I don't know if you listen to that podcast with Baseball America, they actually had this, not this exact discussion, but a similar discussion about subs. And
they do a lot of sub sandwich talks on there.
Yeah. And that was one of JJ Cooper's. And when he said that, I was like, exactly. I don't care for Jimmy John's. I don't care for it.
I love Jimmy John's.
I love hot subs, man.
Yeah. I love Jimmy John's up until I paid $30 for it at the airport when I was flying. I paid $30, and like I don't think I feel like I've been a fan since. Yeah, if I had to pick those two, like obviously I probably just had to go Jersey Mike's because I haven't had the other. I do like Jersey Mike's. I do like their cheesesteak. Their cheesesteak was pretty good. They're nice and filling and stuff like that. And like you said, I love my hot sandwiches, meatball subs, cheesesteaks, stuff like that. So probably would have to go with Jersey Mike's here.
Which actually, while we move on and you start the next one, I'm going to double check if my memory is correct.
All right. So next question is from Stats CBO. What are the chances the Pirates extend Skeens in the near future? If they did extend him, would it make it easier to sign more good players, or is that just a myth? And I think the last part of it's really the part that kind of I like gravitated towards. First off, I'll say like based off what the Pirates did with like Jared Jones and bringing up Skeens early, I wouldn't say anything is impossible at this point. I'm still on the thing saying it's very unlikely, at least to me, that they'll extend Skeens. Even if they do, it'd be one of those situations to where like I'm probably not confident that he finishes the contract in Pittsburgh. But that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Honestly, I missed what you just said.
Oh, okay.
But I have to answer.
You got your answer?
Because I just looked and I was like, it rung a bell. And I was like, I have gone to DeBella Subs him numerous times on 228 in Cranberry Township. And yes, I love that place. So, new answer, DeBella Subs.
Okay. All right. Well, now I guess I'm not going to give it a shot if I ever make it back up there.
So where were we?
All right. We're what are the chances the Pirates extend Skeens in the future? And if they do, would that make it easier to sign good players, or is that just a myth?
Well, I guess my opinion, I've talked about this before, in that I do believe that I feel they have every intention of at least trying to. The fact we'll see when it actually happens. If it happens, in large part to like this whole debut patch search thing, like there's no way they would be willing to give all that out to have that card at PNC Park for life, to give out 30 years of season tickets to just let them walk in a couple years.
Yep.
That would make absolutely zero sense.
Or would it make perfect sense for the Pirates?
No. Because that's a lot of money they're giving up.
Yeah.
Especially over the long term for a baseball card. That ultimately a lot of money they're, just kind of handing out for a baseball card to just sit at PNC Park. And because if Skeens is gone at 25 years old, then I mean, like, it's kind of like, what purpose does that card serve? If anything, you're just gonna make fans more pissed off,
Yeah.
Because they're gonna see that card and be like, you let them leave, kind of stuff, right? So it's similar to how the angry people were when Kutch got traded. Like, people were very upset.
Oh yeah.
Now imagine letting a generational pitcher just go. So I believe they have every intention to. And something else I have spoken on in previous years, that yes, I do believe that if they extended him, that it would drive other players, free agents, wanting to play in Pittsburgh. Because it's like, okay, you extended your star and, one of the best players. You're showing a commitment to them, and if you're building a better team, then players are going to want to play there. That's like in past years I've said, like, what I wish the Pirates would do, like at the onset of the offseason, is you don't got to go out and get the Blake Snell like as soon as free agency opens, but go get you one of the at least upper mid tier players for a position you highly need and sign them. So, other free agents are like, okay, they're serious.
Yeah. I think I agree with like 95% of everything you said there. And I think the last thing you said kind of builds off of my point. I think, and for the most part, yeah, like if you extend Paul Skeens, that's like open doors. Like Pirates are serious. Like, okay, they're taking this serious now. But on the flip side with it, as far as free agents go, extending Paul Skeens is a little bit different than signing and doing stuff with like free agents. I think it will take the Pirates dipping their toes out a little bit more with like a free agent, like an actual free agent, for other players to kind of like realize like, okay, this is actually an option for me, kind of thing. So so like, yeah, I'm sure it'll draw people in, or it could draw some other people in, but I just think that extending a player and like signing a free agent is a little bit different and maybe like looked at a little bit different. And that like, yeah, maybe they don't like the whole Rowdy Tellez thing. Maybe like other players aren't looking at it, aren't looking at it and be like, and like, oh, well, we'll never sign there. But I do think if the Pirates go out there and sign an actual free agent and give them a multi-year commitment and stuff like that, that'll draw just as many eyes over to other free agents than it would just like extending a generational player. Because you extend a generational player, you kind of expect that you envision that teams are going to want to keep one of the best players of the generation. Signing free agents, though, is something that they still haven't shown that they're willing to do. So I think they need to start maybe rolling with that first, and then that's what kind of brings people in at that point.
Well, but also, I mean, because extending schemes, because a free agent could be talking to a free agent about like, hey, we want to give you a 3-4 year deal, but they're going to be like, well, cool, I get to play with Skeen for 2 years, and then what about the 2 years after? You going to trade me too? Type of deal.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, and then a little off of that is just aspects like the Pirates pitchers' success could lead to other pitchers being like, hey, I want to play there because their coaching and development is getting the best out of guys. So I want that for my career.
Yeah. And it feels like we kind of saw that a little bit like going. It's like maybe they're not as heavily, because they went, Tyler Anderson had like a bounce back year, Jose Quintana and stuff like that. And so, but yeah, maybe not to like a higher scale level worth of like free agents kind of thing on there. But yeah, I wouldn't like Nola said, like me, I wouldn't throw. I don't think anything is impossible now for the Pirates. It would make sense for them to do everything they can to extend them. I just kind of like on the thing, like I don't think I'm a buy or sell it until like I actually see it happen kind of thing. So
yeah.
I think we are coming up on an hour now, so we'll probably save the next few questions for the next episode. So
dun.
Yeah, go ahead and start wrapping everything up. Did you have any NOLA knowledge for us today? And then,
well, my NOLA knowledge is going to be a little bit of advice with regards to if you're ever in a situation where your plane has to divert to another city, land, and they have to postpone you to the next day, make sure call a hotel before you even get off the plane. We made the mistake. So the Saturday night we were flying back from Pittsburgh to New Orleans. We got to New Orleans, literally over the city, but you could see all the clouds, all the lightning and everything. They attempted to descend, and the plane, that was a big shake, and they immediately went straight back up. I think they might have did another roundabout while talking to air traffic control, and then they were like, "Oh, everybody, we're going to Tampa."
Nice.
So yada yada yada. We got to Tampa, and they're like, actually, they had said that they were going to go to Tampa, refuel, and fly back to New Orleans, but then because of this and that, we ended up having to stay in Tampa, and more than anything, I felt awful for my son because it had been a long day. At this point, it was 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. We could not find a hotel. He's at the point of falling asleep on a bench outside, where he's not in a very good mood and just sad. So it was very sad. But luckily, I ended up calling a place that was like 10 minutes away, and they had one room left. And I was like, I'll take it. We'll be right there. And yeah, we at least got 5 hours of sleep in a real bed.
That's nice.
So if that situation ever happens to you, call hotels immediately.
That's fair.
They book up fast.
Yeah, I bet that's crazy. And that's haven't had any kind of haven't flown much, but I haven't had any of those kind of situations or anything like that. And I'm just hoping I get lucky, and that just never happens.
Yeah, it also didn't help that obviously this was post-Christmas, so a little bit of calculating expected Christmas gifts.
Mm-hmm.
We were hand carrying a lot more stuff than we thought we would have had to, so they made things extra fun.
Oh, I bet. Sounds like fun.
I was literally carrying a cooking pan around the airport.
Yeah, I bet you got a lot of looks for that.
Yeah. What you cooking?
That's hilarious. All right, well, that's a good piece of information there. And where can people find you on social medias to get even more life lessons, NOLA knowledge stuff?
Well, either the Bird app or Blue Sky at Nola Jeffy, NOLA JEFFY. I haven't been as active lately, but that's generally where the good stuff happens.
Yeah.
Or join us. I was just
no, go ahead.
Or also, we're often in the NS9 Discord. You can join us there.
Yeah, join us on the NS9 Discord. Bucks on Deck comment section. I'm going to try to do better this upcoming year as being active in the comment section with some of the other people. But there's always some good conversations and stuff going on there as well. Like you said, NS9 Discord. That place it's hard to keep up in there sometimes. I'll see conversation going on. I'll leave and go to the bathroom for 2 minutes and come back, and there's just no hope on catching up. So,
I give up at that point.
Yeah. But for me, follow me on Twitter at @double_Murphy88. Follow me on Blue Sky, Anthony.Murphy. Whatever the rest of the stuff is. Subscribe, Bucks on Deck podcast. If like we said at the beginning of the show, depending on when you're listening to this, it might already be the new year. I think I'm going to send the email out we're going to start getting all the information together for our top 25 site rankings for the system. So I could get started on all the write-ups and everything like that. Not too much longer till we hit baseball. And I think some actual baseball would be good for
up quick.
Yeah, come up quick. I think the other day, Ethan posted something to say, or what is it? Ethan Smith, I think it's Smith, Locked on Pittsburgh. He said it was we hit the 90-day mark till opening day or something like that.
Jeez.
So
already?
Yeah. So it's coming close. It's coming close. But like I said, subscribe to the
Make moves.
Yeah, I know, right? That's even more pressing now. Subscribe to this site. I think we're through all of the holidays now, so we should be back on a normal schedule as far as episode wise. So until the next time, we'll thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Deuces.